Yeet.
Minnesota Loons, best team in the MLS. How's it going, Spa Daddy?
Another day, another dollar.
Another day, living the life, living the dream. I'm gonna reposition this a little bit. Home Spa.
What up, bro?
This is my friend Home Spa. He's awesome. Anyways, you got a big weekend coming up, dude.
Busy weekend.
Busy weekend. You're ditching me with the fights.
Sorry, man. Gotta do what you gotta do. I know, I'm actually quite sad about that because I'm missing my boy, Johnny Bones.
John Jones Jr. You seen his Twitter page before?
Obviously.
What is it?
His Twitter page.
You haven't seen his profile picture?
Not in a while,
Lately?
though. I haven't looked at it in a while.
Oh, it's a picture of him standing with his hands on his hips with the belt around his waist, and he has the Jordan crying meme put on his face. I just thought it was great. He's able to laugh at the suspension. But you're going to the Florida Georgia Line concert.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah, where is it?
Target Field. I'm on the floor, man.
Floor seats? Do you so is it general admission on the floor, first come first serve type thing, or do you have like a specific
there's an
spot?
actual ticket spot for it. There's the pit that's right up against the stage. That's standing room
Like
only.
a couple $1,000 tickets,
yeah,
right?
But it's standing room only. But you're right there. Mine are farther away from that, but I'm still on the floor. Probably I don't know 10 yards from the stage. I want to say. But,
Oh dang, that'll be nice. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Should be a good time.
Before we get on to the actual topic of the real shit that's going down this weekend, no, just kidding. Favorite song you're looking forward to before we transition here?
We got a couple.
Oh.
God, Your Mama and Me, because it's one of their newest ones.
Okay.
Holy, because I was a big fan of that one. And
Classic.
If they throw it back, because Nelly's going to be there, they might do the remix of Cruise.
Oh,
Have you heard
Nelly's
that
gonna be
one?
there. Is he
Yeah.
performing?
Yeah,
He's going on before.
It's Chris Lane, Nelly, Backstreet Boys, and then Florida Georgia Line at the end.
So, what time does it start, and what time do you think you'll be done out of there? Because it's
They say they start at 6,
Mhm.
which seems kind of a little late with all the people or all the performances, but
Right.
I don't see myself probably leaving there until midnight, 1 a.m.
Oh wow,
So,
that's gonna be a long night.
It'll be a long night, and then
Are you pretty hyped?
I am pretty hyped. I'm still sad I can't see my boy John Jones.
Johnny Jones.
But
He's a crazy dude, man. Yeah, dude, I'm pretty jealous. Florida Georgia Line, one of those bands, driving home at night alone, just throw them on, and I swear to God, they speak to you.
yeah.
I've actually listened to some of their stuff, kind of just out of envy of you going to the concert and
Oh really?
me being broke because of freaking car
Well,
payments.
I am broke now.
Yeah, after those things,
Pretty expensive stuff, but
it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
See him live, can't complain.
should be.
Unless they decide not to show up.
Yeah.
Pouring rain, middle of the
No,
Target
I
Field.
already looked at that, man. It's gonna be clear skies, sunny day.
Knock on wood. Got some here. Wood tables. Pure wood. Pure granite. So, Homespo, after coming on to listen to the podcast first time, I saw you shot me a text. You're like, wow, dude, 100,000 hits already on the first podcast? Can't believe it. We should do one.
Was it that many? I thought it was only 4.
Might have. Very good chance. Oh, that's embarrassing. Very good chance it was 4 views. But,
And that was one of them.
yeah, so you're a big UFC guy. Well, more or less, correct?
Yeah.
So I thought we'd start, talk about 214 a little bit, maybe see where that takes us. But I was going to pull up the fight card here, and I thought we could make some predictions and possibly argue with each other if we have any disagreements here, why or why not we think whoever will win the fight will fight. I guess there really is one main real fight that people are excited to see. I'm excited for honestly 5 fights on this card, maybe 6. I don't know about you.
Yeah, there's a few good ones, but that's the problem. I think that's one of my biggest, I won't say complaints, but it's there's always the one big fight, but then there's some with the big fights that have a stacked card with it, but then there's some where you only have the big fight.
Right.
And the rest of the card is completely junk. And I mean, I understand that some of it you have to do that, but I mean, like, what people want to see is those stacked cards because I go to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch them sometimes, and you can tell when it's a good fight of how many people are there.
Right.
And then you can tell if there's only one good fight, the place is completely empty.
Yeah, it's dead. I wonder how it should probably be. They say and I would agree with this, but they say it's the biggest UFC card of the summer, which I mean, McGregor Mayweather's not a UFC event.
It got bigger with the ad of the Cerrone and Lawler fight.
Yeah, that getting pushed back.
Canceled off the last one.
I'm excited to talk about this.
But
one thing I was going to say about back to the stacked card thing. So I was doing some research and I found out the way that the UFC breaks down like the pay brackets. Mm-hmm. So if you see, Conor McGregor's fighting on a UFC card, there's a good chance it's going to break a record.
Oh yeah.
And so how that kind of works is every fighter does get like a certain amount share of the pay-per-view sales, Mm-hmm. So if, there's a big fighter like that's not on Conor McGregor's status, like let's say, who would you say is a good co-main event fighter? Like honestly at this point, Demetrius Johnson, people aren't too interested in him, or like, Khabib Nurmagomedov isn't a main eventer yet, or like a Jimmy Manoa. Right? Yeah. These guys like this see, there's going to be a massive amount of pay-per-view buys on this card. One, I'm going to get publicity, being on this card. People are going to watch the prelims. They're going to pay for the fight. And then two, they're going to get that cut, and they're selling way more pay-per-views because, Conor McGregor's on this card.
Yeah.
And the casual fan wants to watch Conor McGregor at this point, I would say, speaking for most people.
Well, just his showmanship alone will get people in the door. People could just know his name and not give a crap what he does for a living. It's just how he perceives himself as a person. So
he's
walking around with those suits with the nice embroidered words.
Fill in the blank. Expletive U. So where do you want to start with these predictions tonight? I think we can start. What, you want to just start on the featured prelim? I don't know if you're familiar with Jason Knight at all.
Yeah.
So, Jason Knight, he's a 145-pounder, and he's come on the scene recently. His last fight I watched, he knocked out Chaz Skelly, who's a pretty good wrestler. And the crazy thing was Knight's a dangerous striker, and Chaz Skelly took him down in the first 2 rounds in a row, and Jason Knight literally just beat him up from his back.
Yeah.
And it was sick. And then ended up hurting him enough to where he could stand and trade with him, which he could in the first place, but enough to get the knockout in the third. But Ricardo Lamas is actually, isn't he the number 3 or 4 featherweight?
I think so. I haven't seen too much of him either.
He lost to Max Holloway in his last one.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, a lot of guys lose to Max Holloway. I think if... I shouldn't say that. There'd be so many haters. Dude, Conor McGregor will come down and destroy Max Holloway at 145.
Yeah,
but
if Conor McGregor ever fights in the UFC again.
You think he won't?
Well, I mean, he has a championship belt, and he hasn't defended it since... When was the last time he defended a belt? He was supposedly he had 2 belts at that one time, but he had to give up the one.
Right, he vacated it, never defended it.
Yeah,
and then
he still
took Eddie Alvarez.
He still has the other one, and he hasn't defended it since then.
Right, and even throughout the 2 Diaz fights, 2 fights not needing to defend the belt because Nate Diaz couldn't make those weights. He couldn't make 155 on that 10-day notice or whatever when he first beat him. And
so he hasn't defended a belt in almost 2 years now.
Right.
About
in his defense, I guess.
I mean, he is, and I mean, I understand these fights were great, but at the same time, I feel like if you're gonna be a champion in the UFC, you have to defend your belt at least once, maximum twice in a year, because depending how the fight goes, you could not get punched like he had that 13-second knockout.
Yep.
You can easily fight in the next 6 months.
And just with people talking about how Conor McGregor is on another level, on Floyd Mayweather being on another level, and they're saying, well, Conor still got a chance. Well, doesn't that mean then Khabib has a chance at least against Conor, or Tony Ferguson at least has a chance against Conor, or Justin Gaethje has a chance against Conor?
I mean, that's tough to say though, because
that was a sarcastic comment about Justin Gaethje.
Because boxing is a completely different thing than MMA. So, like, you can say, like, Conor could have a chance because he does some boxing in the MMA, but it's a completely different game in the in between both because one has obviously way more dynamics to it than the other. So
That's true. So do you want to try not to get too off topic here and stay with the 214 card predictions? Because then we get to the main card, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is stacked just from looking at it here. You got it pulled up on your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jimmy Manawa and then this newcomer, Volkan, is it Ozdemir or Uzdemir? I don't even know how to say it.
I would say Uzdemir.
The Swiss knife. Just kidding. He's from Switzerland, but I don't know his nickname. I haven't seen any of his fights. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't know. He's really good defending, like takedowns and stuff. I mean, I don't know. He's one of those guys like you kind of just have to like knock out. I feel like because you can't if you get him. I feel like it's hard to get. If you get him on the ground, it's hard to keep him on the ground. Type thing. So.
Right. Well, if you have to knock him out, I don't think there's a different light heavyweight than that you'd rather have to try to go in and knock him out now that Anthony Johnson's gone.
I love Jimmy Manuwa, so I hope that's my. I want Jimmy Manuwa to win, and I predict a knockout in the third round.
Okay, so I'm actually going to be playing DraftKings on this card on Saturday night. They got a nice little thing going on. DraftKings, I'll be accepting your endorsement later when you listen to this. No, just kidding.
If you're one of those 4 people out there.
Yeah, one of my 4 subscribers. I love you all. Anyways, I actually am picking Volkan in this one.
Okay.
I like him as an underdog. Just 1 loss on the record. The thing is with that light heavyweight division, though, is you can reach a high ranking real fast.
You can also lose it real fast.
That goes for any division, though.
Yeah.
The light heavyweight division, there's not much out there right now. I mean, with Rumble Johnson going out fighting like a bonehead against Daniel Cormier, no disrespect, Rumble. Like, I know he could knock my head off real quick and wrestle me to the ground.
I mean,
but
he could breathe on me and I could fall over probably. But he
could
knew
sneeze on you and knock you out.
He knew going into that fight he was going to retire, so I don't even know why he went out.
Right.
He basically fought like he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to win because he knew if he won he'd have to stay. I mean, I'm sure if he won, he would have stayed. But I mean, he just had the mindset of going into it that he was just done.
Like it's going to be his last fight.
Yeah. Like
in sorts of things. Okay, yeah. I would agree with that. I wouldn't say he, didn't want to win.
Well, I'm not going to say he didn't want to, but it's just the way he looked and the way how he kind of walked out. It just seemed like he didn't want to be there.
And the way he approached the fight.
Yeah, he just went right into Cormier's strengths. Like it was the hardest thing to watch if you're a UFC fan because he knew.
If you're a Rumble fan. If you're one of the few DC fans out there. Well, there's quite a few DC fans out there.
I am not one of them. But I mean, if you know DC's game, he likes to wrestle, take down, and ground and pound type guy. He's not one to stand up like Rumble is, and if Rumble would have even attempted like more strikes, I think he would have had a better chance. But once he got to the ground, it was over.
Yeah.
And he was just kept going in that clinch.
Yeah.
And that just fits Cormier's game too of dirty boxing.
Yeah. Their first meeting that we watched, Daniel Cormier versus Rumble Johnson 1. We watched at your house. Do you remember that? It was that same fight where that crazy Travis Brown and Andre Arlovsky first round knockout was on that card. And Rumble, do you remember he just came out swinging in rounds even 1 and even into the second round a little bit. Ended up getting choked out in the third, but that's the game plan you got to go in with.
When you're Rumble, you have to do that, but at the same time, he just tired himself out so quickly, just swinging like that. I mean, it's what if you want to beat Daniel Cormier, that's what you kind of. If you're someone like Rumble who doesn't have a ground game, that's what you have to do. You just have to go balls to the walls and just flare at him. But after those first 2 rounds, which I thought he would think he won the first one at least.
Maybe the second got taken down.
The second one he was tired. He just went all out in the first. So.
Yeah. Yeah, anyways, but back to that light heavyweight division, I mean, Rumble Johnson's gone. You got DC and John Jones, and you got Alexander Gustafsson coming off that huge knockout of Glover. Did you see that knockout in the 5th round? Oh. Yeah. I almost felt kind of bad because Glover was such a stud for putting in there, taking just a beating for 4 rounds. I was like, well, at least he'll take him to a unanimous decision, but
no, didn't get.
Ooh, Alexander Gustafsson.
It's like, that's the thing. Like the light heavyweight division, like it's such a wide open spread besides John Jones and DC because they're obviously top of the line in that division. But like you said, anyone can rise up in that division. But like it's the people like Glover Teixeira is getting really old now.
Yep. But Mauricio Shogun Hua, he's he's the 5th ranked contender, and he's got to be, what, 60 by now?
It seems like it, but it's like guys like that. They've been there for so long, and it seems like every fight they're in, they look worse and worse as they've gotten older.
And then you have this group of about 4 or 5 guys that are just separating themselves, I would say.
And there's so it's basically like the top 2, DC and Jones, and then it's like those old farts that almost shouldn't be there anymore, but they're just there because their name is big, and every time they win, they just move back up.
And every once in a while, they kind of they'll knock off a guy who's knocking on the door when they need to.
Yeah, so basically, if you're an up-and-comer in that division and you beat a Rua or a Teixeira, you're right in the running for it, but it's just those guys like Teixeira and Rua, they just I feel like they should just be done sooner than later, because the more they go out there, the more it's like their fights get less entertaining now, because it just seems like they'll take 1 or 2 punches and be done. And back in the day, Rua could take a 5-round fight of punches and still be fine. But
right. Yeah, so we can come back to light heavyweight a little later, because obviously our main event that we are looking forward to discussing is there. So let's move on to, honestly, might be my personal favorite fight on this card.
Besides the main event, this is probably the best fight on the card.
For those listening, this fight happens to be in the welterweight division, ex-champion, former champion Robbie Lawler taking on Donald Cerrone, coming off that loss to Jorge Masvidal. But Cerrone had looked phenomenal up until then. 3 knockouts in a row, right? Yeah,
big winning streak for him.
It was Brown, Story, and Cote.
Yeah. Kind of disappointing he didn't get a title shot after one of those, because the fact he kept winning, and he was fighting on 4 months rest on some of them because he wouldn't. He was on paper. He was on a fight card, had 2 fights off, and then he was back on another one. So
tell you what, continue talking about this fight and why you think Cerrone's going to win here.
I do like Cerrone.
I do too, even though he's the underdog.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Lawler's kind of been around a while, and
right.
I mean, who knows how much more punishment he can take, because he's had some brutal ones in the past. But
listen to this fight schedule. He fought December of 2015, late December 19th, against Rafael Dos Anjos, hitting his last title fight at 155, which he looks better at 170, no doubt.
Yes.
Right? Then he moves on. He loses there. 2 months later, in late February of 2016, he beats Alex Oliveira in a performance of the night. Goes on 4 months later in June to fight Patrick Cote, knocks him out. Another performance of the night. Turns around 2 months later, and he goes, and then he knocks out Rick Story. Did you see that combination he put on Rick Story?
I did.
That's going to be in like Mortal Kombat video's signature move. And then Matt Brown, he goes out and head kicks Matt Brown and literally takes his soul. You saw that?
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, ran into just a beast of Jorge Masvidal.
That's true, but at the same, like what you just listed there, that's title contention right there. But he never got his shot, and then he loses, that spot just from that one loss.
He was, I think he peaked at 5 as the number 5 ranked welterweight. I think taking Masvidal, I mean, like, props to Cerrone for being as active as he is. Like, he's a phenomenal fighter, and arguably I think he deserves a title shot as well. But I think taking Masvidal as the 12-5 as it was what it was, and putting such a dangerous guy like that in front of you, knows he's a good boxer that can take you into deep waters. I think Cerrone should have then maybe waited a little longer, maybe nab up to the Robbie Lawler fight right away, or Wonder Boy after coming off a loss to Tyron Woodley. Try to fight one of those guys, and then you're in a title shot for sure. There's no doubt. There's the argument, Damian Maia gets the title shot, which we'll talk about later.
I don't know. It's tough to tell because it's so hard to judge in the UFC, because there can be like 2 guys in one division that probably deserve one, but
so true.
But then the thing is, if they want it, then they have to fight each other, and then it's longer for the champion to wait.
Right.
So. And
then we got Robbie Lawler, who hasn't fought in not over a year, but at the time of this fight, it'll be 364 days.
Yes.
So, and that was a first round knockout early.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to Robbie Lawler, but I think he's on the downward end of his career. You know, he won the title, defended it a few times.
After he lost it, I felt like it was kind of on that stretch for him because once his next couple performances were not impressive at all.
Agreed.
So,
well, not next couple. Rory McDonald, very impressive.
Yes,
phenomenal.
Yeah, that was probably one of the fights of all time.
Like, yes, that did win Fight of the Year of 2015, and then or 2016, one or the other, and and then his only other fight was Woodley, and that I feel like that fight was a fight-changing career. I feel like the confidence getting knocked out in the first round like that. No disrespect, Tyron Woodley. Like, who's gonna take that right hand?
Yeah,
Brock Lesnar couldn't take that right hand.
I don't know. He's got a lot.
I'd like to see.
He's got a lot of meat up in the face,
that's
man. So.
Roid juice up in the face. Yeah. So yeah, but anyways, back to Lawler and Cerrone. Prediction? Who are you putting your money on if you have to bet?
I would put it on Cerrone, and I would consider. I know he's an underdog, but I actually consider him a big favorite in this one.
The way he's been fighting, I would agree. Both these guys coming out knockouts. The thing is, Donald Cerrone's fresher.
Yeah.
Simple as that, in my opinion. I would say, if you're betting on that one, take advantage of Donald Cerrone's.
Underdog. Take advantage of his underdog because I don't think he should be.
It might be yielding 2-1, where if you bet $1, you're winning 2.
Yeah.
So,
but,
for those of you big rollers, bet $1,000, win $2,000 on top of your $1,000 back. It's impressive. And then we move to possibly the most lopsided title fight of all time, in my opinion. Yeah. I'm sure there's some Tanya Evinger fans out there that are, dude, you're a freaking idiot. Tanya Evinger's going to destroy Chris Cyborg. And then Chris Cyborg knocks on their door. And
yeah, I don't think there's going to be much of a contest at all. Honestly, I mean, Tanya could come out with something completely different that'll shock us, but I just don't think you can.
Well, what do you compare it to? Like, I have not seen anything like Chris Cyborg, like, ever. And now that she's in her weight class, she's not going to be, obviously she's still going to be kind of sucked up and have the life drained out of her from the weight cut, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because what do you think she walks around at? 170? 160?
I would say like 160, probably.
Maybe even a little more than that.
Yeah.
And to think that she's cutting down to 135, or trying to. And did you ever see that documentary? It was just disgusting. UFC should. If I was, president of the UFC, I would be doing everything in my power to get that video off the internet. But yeah, I mean, Cyborg fought Leslie Smith in her last fight. Mm-hmm. And Leslie Smith, no disrespect, but came in as a plus 1,000 underdog around that ballpark. And I was like, well, maybe someone should just, go crazy, make a bet on her. You might yield some mad cash.
I mean, that's the thing, with all these people...
Boom! Sorry. That's Chris Cyborg power.
With all these, women coming up, it's like you don't really know much about them. They're just giving them title shots because they're on a little streak. But once you get the Cyborg, it's like, well, where'd you get this person? Like, it's almost like you got them off the street.
Yeah,
it's like they don't.
And especially with just such a household name like Chris Cyborg, kind of hard to compare the two. Even is this person? Because the thing with Tanya Evinger, did you ever see the video of her kissing the reporter?
I did, yes.
Oh my gosh, I saw that she got the fight, and then I was looking at her highlights, and then I was like, no way, this is the UFC fighter that kissed the reporter. That reporter was hot. Tanya Evinger's got some game. Well, whatever. But I guess you could make the argument Tanya Evinger, she hasn't even fought in the UFC. She fought in the B League.
Yeah.
The C League, D League, what do you want to call it? UFC Development League. Then they say, here you go.
Go fight Chris Cyborg.
Yeah, is it not like telling a minor league player from the 1990s, okay, you're going up to the majors and Roger Clemens is starting tonight against you? I feel like that's almost the comparison here.
Well, yeah, then they'll do bad and get sent right back down, which could be the same thing for Evinger. She loses and then she'll never be heard of for a while.
Right. And I wonder, I wonder if she signed a contract. Any idea if Evinger got anything? I don't.
Well, if she's fighting in the UFC, I think she has to have one.
At least one fight. I wonder, because I think against Cyborg, you at least got to give her the benefit of the doubt, where we'll say we'll give you 2 or 3 at least comeback fights because we are throwing you to the wolves right now.
I mean, win or lose, like I'm assuming a loss here, but
no disrespect.
she's gonna make bank for getting the piss kicked out of her.
Oh,
so.
right. I mean, you're not headlining, but
no.
Basically, a co-main event technically because it's a 5-round fight, so that could technically make it a co-main.
It could have been, but I mean,
you got better fights on the card. No disrespect.
I mean, I think Lawler and Cerrone's a better co-main event than the Woodley fight, and that's a title fight.
You're not a fan of Damian Maia's style, or what? Well, we can get into that because you're obviously picking Chris Cyborg here in this number 3, correct?
Yeah,
I'm with you on there.
My biggest problem with the next fight is
this is Tyron Woodley versus Damian Maia, ladies and gentlemen.
The fight style of Maia, watching it, if it goes his way, watching that kind of fight is the most boring fight you'll ever watch in your life. Really? Unless you're a fan of the wrestling style, but like
jiu-jitsu, not wrestling.
Yeah,
correct.
Jiu-jitsu,
Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
But
that's how he says it.
His last fight, it was literally him.
Also against Masvidal.
Yes.
Crazy.
But
he should be on this card.
But he hooked onto his back and just sat there.
Yeah.
For 5, was it 3 or a 5-round fight?
It was a 3-rounder.
But all 3 rounds, once he got on top of him or on his back, it was just lay there.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
For a fan of the UFC, it's like you understand that he's doing what he has to do to win, but at the same time, that's just like it put me to sleep. Let's be
right. I feel like there are those people out there too that they either are very knowledgeable and intelligent about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or they say oh, that was beautiful to watch and stuff, I mean, and then there's also those fans out there where they say that was the most boring thing I've ever seen.
Well, I'm kind of in both boats because like if you're watching someone who like does Brazilian jiu-jitsu like very well and you can tell and it's actually like they can be very entertaining. Yeah. But it's just the way Maia does it is the way he wins is he just latches on and doesn't let go type thing. He like once he's in that spot, he kind of works for something, but it just never happens. It's just he gets the points for laying on top of him.
Well, I guess in just trying to play devil's advocate here, in Damian Maia's last couple fights, in the fight before, who did he just fight? Jorge Masvidal. Mm-hmm. That one was kind of.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that's kind of what his style is. But I mean, he has had fights in the past where he's actually done something. Yeah, well, his last fight was against Carlos Condit, and he choked him out 2 minutes into the first round. Well, and that's the thing. Like, that's kind of...
Then it's exciting, though,
That's
right?
when it is exciting. It's like when you sit there for 3 rounds and you just watch him sit on the guy's back and not do anything. It's when... I can be a fan of it, but at the same time, if that's all he's doing is nothing, it's like... So, I feel like this fight could either be really... really slow, really kind of not much action because Maia's the jiu-jitsu. I picture Woodley as more of a stand-up guy. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a fight between the two styles. Yeah. And if
matchups make fights. That's
true, but that can also be a death fight.
Right, no doubt.
Because
fight to the death? These guys are fighting to the death?
Well, they could. I mean, you never know.
Hey, Tyron Woodley's right hand, that could kill someone.
Yeah, but it's like that's the thing. If it goes to the ground, it's an all Maia fight. If it stays standing, it's a Woodley fight. So it's whatever happens that's how they're gonna win. Agreed. Obviously, but it's just the thing. If Maia gets on top and doesn't do anything, it's gonna be a very unentertaining fight.
I hope they have Big John McCarthy reffing this fight because he's in my opinion, and I think everyone else that I've ever heard that's a UFC fan's opinion, the best ref out there. I know you're a big Herb Dean guy, but I think John McCarthy's kind of taken over the role as the number 1 guy. Yeah. Just Herb Dean, I don't think has been as active.
Herb usually only does the big cards.
Right. And then he still kind of switches off with McCarthy, it seems like. Yeah. But McCarthy's good. I think he's good about both keeping it a fair fight, for one, and 2, also making it an entertainment show where if the
active.
fans start booing and seeing he's not advancing, he's good about that.
He'll stand them up.
One thing I'm going to disagree with you on here, though, is I think even as someone who doesn't really know much about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and is a big UFC fan, I do think it is entertaining once Damian Maia gets that triangle, not triangle, but just that triangle around the body and locks that in, and then he works for the choke. Because for me, at least, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, biting my nails. I think that's fascinating, man. I was watching just the other night that UFC Fight Night with Michael Chiesa and Kevin Lee, and I was really pulling for Mike Chiesa there, man. I'm not a Kevin Lee fan at all. No disrespect, Kevin Lee, that you're listening to this, because I know you are, and I'll come beat the living snot out of you. Never mind.
Careful what you say, man.
Right. But I thought that was exciting. Even though I had it in the reverse roles, I was hoping that Chiesa would be on Lee's back. I thought that was the most exciting thing in the world, seeing if he was going to survive the round.
I'm not saying that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is boring. There's people that can do it really well, and it is really entertaining. I'm just saying I don't want if the David Maia I want to see is the one you're talking about, the one that's actually making moves, getting him in that body triangle, and actually advancing on it. But if it's like anything like the last one, that's the David Maia no one wants to see.
Damien.
Sorry. But that's the one you don't want to see, because he's entertain. He can be very entertaining to watch if he's doing it right. But
so you're saying you'd be upset if this 5-round fight ended up going to decision where Damian Maia sat on Tyron Woodley's back for 5 rounds and then
won the fight because of it. Yes.
Okay. And you know what? The reality is it could happen.
And it most likely will happen, because if Woodley goes to the ground, I don't think he has that great of a ground game. I mean, he did show some against Thompson when that went to the ground.
Yes. A kickboxer, though. Someone who doesn't practice ground really at all.
But I mean,
But he's a wrestler, for one.
Yeah. It's just, after Woodley's 2 fights against Thompson, I don't know how you can really top those performances, because those were 2 very controversial decisions, I would say.
Oh, yeah, we watched Thompson-Woodley 2 together.
Well,
the first one was debatable, 10-8 round for Woodley, I guess, makes sense, being the draw there. But I had more of a problem with the second one, where Woodley won Wonderboy Thompson won the first 4, no doubt.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And then suffered a knockdown in the 5th, and you're telling me that was enough to give Tyron the fight? That's racist, man.
Black Lives
Oh
Matter.
my God.
Are we really going to get into
No, we're
that?
not getting into this. We can't lose our 4 plays.
It's just the whole draw thing I thought was too. I thought Thompson won the first fight too, in my opinion. I mean, some people can see it differently, but I thought Thompson had that one won, and then the last one I thought for sure Thompson had it won.
So, did you just have it scored in the first one, all 10-9 rounds, where you had Tyron Woodley taking the first round, when he smacked the crap out of Wonderboy on the ground. Mm-hmm. Then you had Wonderboy taking 2 and 3, Woodley taking 4, and Wonderboy taking 5, all 10-9?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of fans out there who had it that way. All the judges had it, their professionally scored way. I don't know if they do different than the normal fan.
The thing that bugs me, you don't know, are these judges neutral, or are they secretly biased for somebody?
Right.
Because there's been some fights, I'm only going to bring them up because I think it's happened a bunch. Anderson Silva.
And Derek Brunson?
Yes.
I remember, we were watching that fight together when we were back at college, and we were both streaming the fight. We won't give out the website because we need that to watch our fights, ladies and gentlemen. And we were talking over Xbox Live, and we were streaming that fight. And you were livid.
Honestly, Brunson won that fight, I think. I mean,
that's a fair statement.
There's been a couple of occasions with Silva, I think, but where it looks like he's done absolutely nothing, and he comes out on top. I mean, Brunson that kid worked his ass off in that fight, and him losing to Silva literally brought him from a contender to nothing. It kind of just wrecked his path in my opinion, he got screwed because of it, because I would have given Silva 1 round, but the other 2 were not even close. I thought.
Right.
So.
That's fair.
But
and really, that 1 round that Silva won, all I really remember was he just landed one big shot.
And then it was a ground fight after.
Right, and he landed 1 shot. Brunson stumbled a little bit. It wasn't even a knockdown, but I guess apparently enough to give Silva that round and another one in that fight. Who knows?
That's why I'm just kind of curious in where these judges come from or how they get hired, because like I know Silva's a big name and people think. I mean, I'm not giving him any.
Right.
Like he's done more things in his career that most people can't.
Not tossed any shade, acknowledging Anderson Silva is one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, but it's just like when you're at the age he is and you're winning a controversial fight like that,
it's killing young newcomers' careers.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't think he won that fight, and Brunson got screwed because of it.
I think a lot of people would agree with you there.
Yeah, and it's just because Silva's a fan favorite, and he gets the money.
Yep.
And brings the money in. And
yep. Was that the main event of that card? Was it a UFC fight night where that was the? No. It was on UFC 208.
Mm-hmm.
Same night that cheater Durandamy vacate the belt. Durandamy. Punched Holly Holm after the bell to win the featherweight title.
Yeah.
Knockout via TKO stoppage after the bell. All right. So I will just say, I'll ask you for now, back to the 170-pound division. Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia, who you got? If you just have to say. Because then we're gonna go back through, just say the name of who you got in this fight, because then at the end of the podcast, what we'll do is we'll go back through the card, and I want you to give me the fighter, and then whether it's a knockout decision TKO, and then the round, if it's a stoppage.
I like Woodley in this one.
You like Tyron here?
If the fight doesn't go to the ground.
Okay, that's fair enough. All right, and then we get into the time you'll probably be on your phone watching the fight, trying to stream it at the concert.
Yeah, when I have no service there.
You got a cute girl going with you, and you'll be looking at your phone the whole time watching UFC. No, I'm just kidding. But
play it on the big screen.
John Jones, that'd be pretty sick.
Not that I'd be able to see it. But.
Yeah, seriously, it'd be down drowning in human flesh and bone.
Being deaf and.
We have the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC light heavyweight champion Daniel Mother-Lovin' Cormier versus the number 1 contender, number 7 pound-for-pound fighter as of 3 days ago, back on the UFC website, John Jones. I don't think it is very unclear who you both want and think will win this fight.
John Jones.
John Jones has never lost a fight except for one. By disqualification with elbows going 12-6.
Yeah, lame. But...
Anyways, I was going to ask you, how much attention have you paid to the build-up of this fight?
For a while, I would say. I mean, this has been brewing for a while because everyone wanted to see this, and it didn't happen when it should have because of Mr. Jones not being able to lay off the crack pipe, but...
Hey, the sea pills, as Daniel Cormier would call them.
Whatever you call it. I mean, John Jones, I'm sorry, don't come kick my ass now, but...
Right. How do you see this fight going, if you have to break it down? Do you think DC even wins a round? You'll give him that respect, won't you?
He can win a couple. It depends.
A couple? 3 wins a fight.
I know, I understand that. It's a 5-round fight.
Well, I guess not necessarily. John Jones got 2 10-8 rounds.
Yeah. I don't... It really depends on how the fight goes, because if Cormier gets him to the ground, it's kind of... I mean, I'm not... Jones has a decent ground game. I'll give him something, but it's not spectacular by any means. It's just... If Cormier...
Because he's been working on it, too. That's the scary thing.
Well, and if he's improved his ground game, you can't beat him. I don't think.
What do you do?
Yeah,
his reach is too long to strike. He's a college wrestler. And if you add jiu-jitsu, I'm just going to keep stuttering like I just did.
It's all over.
There's no chance.
I mean, I feel like the first round will be very slow because they're going to be feeling each other out a little bit, and after the first round, I think we'll really see who wants to be there.
And do you think that'll play to John Jones' benefit after the long layoff? If Daniel Cormier lets him, find his range and lets him kind of dance around the octagon and get warmed up?
If John Jones finds his range in the first round, I don't give Cormier a chance.
Oh, that's Cormier's worst nightmare. I think if I'm Daniel Cormier going into this fight,
you have to take him down right away.
Take him down and finish him.
Yeah.
Or that, try to slug him and land a bomb.
I wouldn't say you had to finish him in the first round. If you keep John Jones on the ground all the whole first round, he won't have his timing. He won't have his.
Yeah, that's true. It's a very good.
He
point.
won't have his timing. He won't have his. He won't know what to do in the stand-up yet.
The thing is Dan Cormier couldn't take down John. Well, he did take him down once in the fourth round, right?
Once.
The first time. The thing is, though,
it's just the length of Jones. It's hard.
I don't see it happening.
It's
because John Jones took down Daniel Cormier in rounds 1 and 2 when they first fought, and so it's like, well,
I don't. It'll be the first round will decide the fight, I believe, because if Jones gets in a rhythm, it's over. I think anyway, unless you see the Jones that comes out against Peru?
OSP.
Yeah.
Ovin St. Peru.
If he comes out like he did there, Jones won't win. Because that could
really? You don't think so? I think OSP is a better fighter than people give him credit for.
I would agree with that, but the way I know Jones won that fight, but he didn't. I could see it cage rust.
Yeah.
And if he comes out like that against DC, who's wanted Jones for 2 years now, longer maybe.
Yeah, he's been basically preparing for him this whole time. And when he's not preparing for Gustafsson or Johnson.
In those last few years, Cormier hasn't fought anyone.
Yeah, Rumble twice and Gustafsson once.
And Silva,
who he belly flopped on.
That fight was terrible.
Well, you're a little biased there. You hated both of those guys.
I did, but at the same time, I understand. Still, that was. With those two names involved, that should have been a good fight, but it's just the way it just was not, because Silva came in not prepared at all.
2 days notice. That is crazy, though.
Mad props to him for doing that. You
gotta respect that, even if you're not a fan.
I'm not the biggest fan of Silva, but
you don't hate him.
I don't hate him.
Okay.
It's I just wouldn't if there was. I wouldn't cheer for him if I had to.
Right. Okay.
That fight I could see wasn't going to be very well anyway, because Silva coming in off of 2 days' notice.
You knew that Daniel Cormier was
all Cormier had to do was lay on him.
Yeah, he's a big dude, Daniel Cormier.
But the 2 Rumble fights were less than impressive because it was all basically, the first one.
He showed he can take a shot.
Yeah.
We will say that.
If you can take a Rumble Johnson shot, you got a pretty good chance in the UFC.
Did take a Rumble Johnson blast.
But that was probably, that fight was probably the biggest test, I would say, because the Gustafsson one was okay. It wasn't nothing. It wasn't Gustafsson put up a good shot.
I think that was Daniel Cormier's most impressive performance, based on how the Alexander Gustafsson-John Jones fight went.
Yeah.
Because Alexander Gustafsson took John Jones into deep waters, and John Jones, granted it was a unanimous decision, it was 48-47 or something like that.
Yeah, that was Cormier's probably best performance, but I feel like the first Rumble fight was his biggest competition.
Yeah, where he overcame the most adversity, definitely. Yeah, I would agree with that. But I don't think Cormier is the same anymore after missing weight like he did, Towelgate or whatever you want to call that. Who knows? Maybe he did make weight, but I think it's just when a fighter misses weight, I think it shows them that something mentally. It shows the population, the crowd, the audience, whoever's watching, the fans. I think it shows the fans that they aren't taking this as seriously as they need to be, and their head isn't in the right spot.
At the same time, though, they might want to keep those few pounds on for a little advantage. But if you can't make weight, that's kind of pathetic. But if you're fighting at that weight for however long you've been at the weight class, he fought
at least 7-8 fights at 205 before he went down from heavyweight.
Yeah, so it's whatever. I don't know. It's DC. I said, yeah,
it's DC.
The only thing is he hasn't faced anyone like John Jones since he last fought John Jones.
Yeah, that's true. No doubt.
What his last fight was that his last fight he fought in was that the Silva fight, or was it the Rumble Johnson fight?
He fought,
but his last 2 fights were Rumble and Silva, and those 2 were easy.
It was Rumble, Gustafsson, Silva, Rumble.
And
Yeah.
his last 2 fights, he hasn't done anything. He really didn't do much, or he didn't have to do much.
I would definitely agree.
If he comes out lacking at all, I mean, Jones will be all over it because Jones has wanted to punch him in the face for a while now. So.
And the thing is we talked about just how. Sorry for that noise. We talked about just how bad Rumble looked in his last fight with DC. Well, the thing is, Anthony Johnson, not even looking his greatest, going into retirement, still broke Daniel Cormier's nose.
Did.
So what does that mean? What is John Jones going to do to him? Spinning back elbow is going to break his face off. He's just going to knock his head right off.
Yeah.
I would kill to see one of those John Jones vintage back spinning elbows.
And I'll miss it. But
Man,
like I
oh,
said,
man.
I feel like the first round decide how that fight goes a little
Right.
bit. Even if Cormier controls the first round, I mean, there's always that chance for Jones to just come out of nowhere. But it'll give Cormier more confidence if he wins the first round by getting him on the ground.
Definitely.
So.
Did you see that John Jones already has a plan for the future? Did you see any of this today with the comments made about Brock Lesnar, John Jones super fight?
And
oh my goodness!
If that were to happen, I honestly wouldn't know who to cheer for.
That tops McGregor Alvarez. That tops that whole card. Just that fight being on there.
Yeah. Well, if you got Lesnar and Jones in the same octagon for a pay-per-view. That would be record breaking because people paid to see Brock Lesnar on his first fight, and he never fought in the UFC before, and that broke records then.
Yeah.
If you get him and one of if not the best pound per pound fighter almost of maybe ever, if he would have not gotten in trouble.
Still not out of the question though.
Yeah, I mean that's I wouldn't even know what to say. Like I would just sit there and not even say a word to watch that fight because I mean I don't know who to cheer. I'm a big fan of both.
Lesnar being from Minnesota, John Jones being your boy since you literally watched your first UFC fight ever.
Yeah, well, whenever he came onto the scene, man,
Right.
I knew him before he was kind of big. So
Yeah, that's why you're such a big fan. But
Um,
okay, so who? You obviously said you don't know who you'd be cheering for in that fight. I'm not
I
the biggest
honestly-
Brock Lesnar fan, even though he's from Minnesota and we're from Minnesota. But I think I would be one cheering for John Jones in that fight, and I think number 2, John Jones would handle Brock Lesnar in that fight. I think he would handle him, home spot.
I would disagree a little bit.
I'm not saying he would-
but here's the.
I'm not saying he'd take him down.
Okay, but my question is, what weight would they fight at?
Heavyweight.
Yeah.
And I think
So-
John Jones walks around at 240 as it is, 235 as it is.
Yeah, but my big thing, because obviously Brock is a great wrestler.
Correct.
If you get that big dude on top of you,
You're getting tired, no doubt, for one.
and that's the thing. Jones has pretty good takedown defense, but Lesnar's that big and can move very quick. I mean, if you think most people say Cormier is a great takedown guy,
Yes.
Lesnar's way quicker than Cormier ever was.
And his percentage is off the charts for his
And I mean-
takedown offense. It's isn't it 75, 80%, something like that,
Yeah,
where he lands 4 out of every 5?
It's ridiculous, but
I
I
think
mean, it's just hard. That one's hard to judge. I feel like I would take Jones in that fight, but my biggest concern would be if Lesnar can take him down.
Do you think he'd stop him on the ground? I don't think.
It's just really, that's a really tough. When I saw it, I was just because Lesnar's just big in general. He's just bulky.
Yep.
So it's hard to even if
Complete opposite build as John Jones.
Yeah,
for
it's
one.
literally tall and lanky versus stout and just jacked.
And Lesnar, he's still 6'2"?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
he's
the crazy
but
thing.
obviously he's in the WWE right now, but just seeing him walk around in there, and he's
Yep.
bigger than everyone.
Juice to the gills.
Yeah, well, that's true, but still, if you just seeing him walk around, it's you. I mean, I know John Jones is lanky, but just getting for even Jones to get his arms around him would
Yeah.
almost be just as tough to do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, that would be an awesome fight to see. It's just I couldn't tell you predicting how it would go because it's just two completely different styles, and one I feel like if Lesnar tires him out, it'll be tough for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know. Like, that would be the one to see, though.
I'll tell you what I think would happen, and you can tell me if you think I'm crazy or not. I think Lesnar would take him down in the first round, and I think John Jones would honestly... I think there's a very good chance, one, John Jones could throw him in a triangle from the ground. I think John Jones could beat him up from the ground. But I think... And John Jones could very well get beat up from the ground. Don't get me wrong. I don't know what would happen there on the ground, but I think Lesnar would be able to take him down. I don't think he'd be able to stop John Jones. And I think after that, Lesnar doesn't... His cardio did not look good against Mark Hunt.
And his cardio won't be good.
It can't be.
It's just his biggest strength, though, is once he gets him on the ground, he is really good on staying on top, and he has a good ground and pound.
He does have a big hand.
And like when the only thing with Brock Lesnar is that when he's on the ground, like on the offensive, he doesn't think about defensive at all.
Yeah,
he's all offensive on the ground. So if Jones can find a way to slip in an armbar or a triangle or anything, he could have a very good chance to choke him or anything on the ground. He could win the fight off the ground. It's just if he can't do that and Lesnar just pounds on him on top the whole time, it'll be tough for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough to put John Jones away regardless of what you're doing, but that's the same thing with his next fight against Cormier. Like, if Cormier, I'd say, is better on the ground than John Jones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of that same sense, but Lesnar takes it to a new level.
Yep, he's just a bigger man.
Yeah.
Cormier has stamina on his side, but I think John Jones would stop Brock Lesnar, not by knockout, but I think he would get a stoppage in the 4th or 5th round. I genuinely think he'd stop him. And I don't think Lesnar could stop John Jones.
It's like I said, if he gets him on the ground, that's the only way.
Yep.
I think Lesnar can do it because he can't do it. He won't do it with striking at all. Because if Jones lands one big strike, I mean, Lesnar can take a few punches, but once he gets a couple, he stumbles. And once he stumbles, his legs are completely gone. And if he's tired, he's hard standing up when he's tired. But if he gets a shot like that, you can't.
Watch John Jones go knock out DC in 1 minute, and then they throw John Jones versus Brock Lesnar in a match on the same night as Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather in the co-main event. Oh my God, the world would blow up.
They can't do that though, because
they can move an octagon in there.
I mean, they
same time, the same fight's going on at the same time.
Dana already moved a fight off of that date because of that. There was a fight scheduled for
a fight card on the 26th.
But he canceled it because of that McGregor Floyd fight. So
probably a smart move. You're not going to sell any tickets.
No.
Not sell. Sure as heck ain't selling any pay-per-views.
Not when your best showman's again in that other side. So
right. Dang. So if you had to make a prediction, then you'd said you would take Jones. Like if you had to, for say, bet money on it, you'd bet on John Jones
against Lesnar.
Against Lesnar.
Yes.
Okay.
I would. I would. It'd be hard, but I feel like you almost have to, because the only way I see Lesnar winning that fight is, like I said, getting him on the ground and just beating the piss out of him or something. But because if you just having that big dude on top of you just tires you out in general.
Okay. So what do you think? If you just had to give me a name between John Jones and Daniel Cormier coming out on Saturday night, you're taking John Jones hands down.
John Jones.
No question in your mind.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, Zach Hozempa says bet on John Jones if you're going to bet. So bet on John Jones. Zach Hozempa is always right. All right, Zach. Now, since we've kind of gone through, given our breakdown, gotten, I guess, off topic at some points, let's just start from the main card.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll work our way to the top. So, actually, let's start with that featured prelim. Do you like Ricardo Lamas or Jason Knight?
I like Knight.
You like Jason Knight?
I feel like that's going to go to a decision, though.
Yeah, I no disrespect to either, but I don't think they have the knockout power to knock either of them out. I like the decision call there, and I'll agree with you.
It'll be a close fight, I think, but, I mean...
Yep.
I would go with Knight in a decision.
I like Jason Knight there as well. Then we move along to your boy, Jimmy Manuwa. We kind of talked about every light heavyweight that has a presence in the rankings right now against Volkan Ozdemir. Not sure how you say it. And that's one name we didn't. That's one name we didn't talk about. But you did give a specific prediction in this one.
I think I said second round knockout.
Tell you what, I bet you Volkan wins by decision.
I mean, yeah, that's a fair shout too, but
You're a big Manoa guy.
yeah.
You're a
I wouldn't
believer.
say I'm a big, but
And
I
then-
mean, I'm a fan of him. But
Okay. So then, would you like to see Jimmy Manoa get the winner between John Jones and Daniel Cormier, assuming John Jones does not fight Brock Lesnar, assuming that is out of the picture, or Daniel Cormier fighting Brock Lesnar?
I mean, I feel like Manoa would deserve it, but I don't. You'd never know.
If you were the matchmaker, you'd give it to him.
I would, but it's tough to tell with that
Yeah.
division right now. So.
Right. I would say if Jimmy Manoa wins this fight, or actually whoever wins this fight,
Should be the next one, I think. Or
I think they should fight. The winner should fight Alexander Gustafsson.
yeah, that's what I was.
I think that would be
that would be a good fight to see because
All right. One of our favorites, we said. Robbie Lawler, Donald Cerrone. How are you calling the fight? How's it stopping? Is it stopping?
I feel like it's gonna go to a decision, but I want to say Cerrone is a TKO in the third. I mean, I know Lawler got knocked out in the first round last time, but he's had a year off now to get that out of his head, so he might come in a little more prepared.
And he normally just has an iron chin.
Yeah, so
he took a beating from Rory McDonald, even though he won that fight. Rory's not the same, I'll tell you that much.
he's in the B leagues now, not even.
He's gonna win the title though in Bellator.
But yeah, I'll give a TKO to Cerrone in the third if it makes.
I'll give it to him in the second.
Okay.
I like Donald Cerrone in two.
I mean,
You best believe I'm gonna be texting you about this.
not that I'll be able to see it, but
Oh dang it! Shoot!
sorry, man.
No worries. Screw you, Florida Georgia line. Anti shout out. You guys suck. Just kidding. All right. Will you give Tanya Evinger a chance against Chris Cyborg Justino?
No,
You do not give her a chance?
no.
Not even one chance?
No.
I got Chris Cyborg first round TKO. I don't have it as a knockout. I have it as a TKO.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
McGregor's gonna kill Floyd!
All right. We got Tyron Woodley versus Damian Maia. Tell you what, I'm going to make my prediction here first. Damian Maia, rear naked choke, fourth round, finish. Tyron Woodley. As the underdog, he's winning that fight.
I would say Woodley in a decision.
You like him in a decision, though. That's
Like,
bold.
Yeah, I know but it's like I said, if it goes to the ground and they just kind of sit there, I feel like it could go 5 rounds. So.
Okay, fair enough. And finally, the main event. I think you decided we know who you want to win this fight, but I'd like to hear your exact prediction.
TKO in the third.
TKO for Jones in the third round. I like a TKO for John Jones in the fifth round after a war. I think Daniel Cormier is going to give him a fight. I don't think Cormier has what it takes to win the fight, but I like John Jones in a fifth round stoppage in a war, and John Jones is back, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, we're going on an hour. I say we call it a night. Anything else you want to say, man?
I got nothing.
Other than Conor McGregor being a living legend?
Brady Bauman being a little fool.
Yeah, sorry about the scream in the background. Brady Bauman sucks dick.
Set!